everybody, my name is Brandon and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you from the very dimly lit apartment of mine. I decided that I wanted to do a more chill video and I was like, how can I make it a little more entertaining? So I wanted to make things a bit more creepy because this is October and it's my favorite month of the year and my birth month and the month of Halloween and all of my favorite things. So I decided to do a little more creepy wrap-up video for my September wrap-up. And so I got out some old Christmas lights and wrapped them around my tripod, and this is what came out. So I'm kind of pleased with how it looks, but you let me know down below. I may not do another one like this if you don't really like the dimly lit dark videos. So in this video, I will be wrapping up the books that I read, the movies I watched, the TV shows that I finished, as well as my top 10 songs from September 2019. I cannot wait to get into it. It is going to be a quicker video just because I have limited time, and this past week, one of my family members passed away, and so I had to deal with that and being reintegrated into my mom's side of the family. For those of you who may have been following me for a while and have seen my coming out video, you know that I haven't spoken to my mom in almost 3 years. Maybe it is 3 years, maybe it's been 3 years now, but a long time. And so this death brought us together for better or worse, and luckily things went well and it looks like things are looking up for the most part, so that's good. I'm excited about that, but it was definitely stressful and took away from my filming and my life in general. It just put everything on hold and I had to take that time, but luckily I'm still hoping to post this video. I am looking to do 3 videos a week in October, and yes, that is probably hella ambitious, but it's still something that I want to stick to, and so hold me to it, guys, hold me to it. So without further ado, let's hop into the books that I read in the month of September. So the first book that I read in September was Hunger by Michael Grant. For those of you who know, I am rereading my favorite series, the Gone series by Michael Grant, and I am doing 1 book a month until we finish the series. This past month, September, was Hunger by Michael Grant, and October will be Lies, so I'll be reading that soon. Hunger is the thickest book in the bunch. It is over 500 pages, almost 600. It's like 590 something, but crazy. Also, in my last video, I don't know if I showed you all this, but my first 3 books in this series are signed. They're signed because I went to a book signing where I met Michael Grant and got to talk to him about some of our favorite characters, our being my friend Brittany and I, our favorite characters and our favorite scenes and our favorite books, and he gave us a little insight on some things and answered a few questions that we had, and so that was really, really incredible and an amazing experience. But Hunger is just like Gone. I didn't like it more, but I didn't like it less. I really enjoyed it. And I think that's saying something not to the detriment of this book, but to praise Gone, because Gone was so incredible and this book just kept barreling on with that. It didn't really get drastically like 10 times better than Gone, but it continues on with its greatness and still gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me. The review is coming very, very soon, probably next week for this, and I could not be more excited about it. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts, check out that video then. But like I said, 5 out of 5 stars goes to Hunger by Michael Grant. So the next book is Night by Elie Wiesel. This is a reread for me. This is my 4th reread of Night, and I was reading this in order to teach it to my sophomore class, my English 2 class, and they all really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's very dark. This book is about Ellie's experience with the Holocaust and going through the concentration camps and things like that, and it's just got major themes of family and identity and religion and spirituality, and it's just so many things wrapped up in one in this book, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't read Night by Elie Wiesel, you should definitely check it out. I think it's a book that everyone should read, and most people have read, at least in school. So if you haven't read it, definitely do that. It's very short. It's only a little over 100 pages, I believe. It's only 115 pages, so it's definitely one that is easily read, not so much for the content. It does take a while to get through the dark imagery and dark plot in this book, but it's just a short, very, very short book. The next 4 books I reread as a part of the literature circles that I was incorporating in my English 3 class, and those books were Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, Anthem by Ayn Rand, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. So, these books are all classics and all books that I really enjoyed. Of Mice and Men got, I believe, 4 out of 5 stars from me. Anthem gets 5 out of 5 stars from me. The Great Gatsby gets 3 out of 5 stars from me. And A Lesson Before Dying gets 4 out of 5 stars from me. All of these books are vastly different, but are all incredibly interesting. And I could see why they're considered classics in American literature in general, because they are incredibly powerful and each tell their own story in such a unique way. Of Mice and Men is about 2 men during the Great Depression, and it talks about their experience with finding work and friendship, and madness ensues, and it is just a tragic book, but also very short. I think barely over 100 pages, but very interesting. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. A Lesson Before Dying gets 4 out of 5 stars for me. This is about a black man who lives in Louisiana, and he is convicted of a murder that he did not commit and sentenced to death by the electric chair. Now, another man in town is asked to come and help him gain his humanity back before he is put to death. And it talks about them growing in their friendship, and the other man who was coming to help, his name is Grant. It talks about him growing as a person and finding the true meaning of life and the true meaning of community. And it's just a beautiful book. And if you haven't read it, you definitely should. It is powerful. It's a little longer, maybe 260 pages-ish, but my students loved this one. This group seemed to be the one that loved their book the most, and it was the longest book on this list, and they just devoured it, and they keep talking about it, so it just makes me so happy. Same with Of Mice and Men. They didn't really like it as much as A Lesson Before Dying, but they did enjoy it a lot, so that was interesting to see. And I just love being able to talk to my students about some of the things that are going on in these books and the symbols that are being used, and just the plot and how many twists and turns the plot has, and the characters growing throughout the books. It's so incredible to have these conversations with them, because they get it, right? I just love it. The Great Gatsby gets 3 out of 5 stars for me, simply because of the writing. I think that F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing is unnecessarily boring and detailed, and he just drones on and on about things that don't really matter. The plot of this book, I would have to say, is the most interesting of all of the books here, but the characters are just the worst, and that is what the intention of the book is to do, is to make you hate the characters. But as a character person, I can't read a book where I hate literally all the characters. The only character I really liked was Gatsby, but he was kind of problematic at times as well. But the plot is so incredible in this book, and talk about twists and turns, this book has it all. It's so incredible. So this book is about Nick Carraway, who moves across the pond from Gatsby, who is the wealthiest man in the New York area, and he throws the biggest parties. And Nick gets invited one day, and he meets Gatsby, and no one else knows what Gatsby looks like or who he is, but he reveals himself to Nick and says, "Hey, your cousin Daisy, I want you to set up a meeting between her and I." The thing that you might not know is that Daisy has a husband and a child, and madness ensues in this book, and there is so much going on under the surface, and I really wish that it was written better, because I feel like I would have loved this. I love the movie. I really love the movie, but the book is just so boring. I hated rereading it again for this class, but again, I had to. And last but not least, we have Anthem by Ayn Rand, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. This is another short one, barely over 100 pages. I know it looks thicker, but the last part of the book is just the author's annotations for her manuscript. But Anthem is about a dystopian society where our main character stumbles across something that he has to keep secret. However, he wants to share it with the world because he thinks it is a brilliant thing, and things go down. And it is just a powerful book on self-expression and not being a group thinker and thinking on your own and individuality. And it's a really powerful read, especially in high school. So again, they really loved this one. This was probably the second most popular book. Everyone wanted to read this one, but again, I could only have 3 of them do it, but they loved it. The next book I read was a short story on my Kindle, and that was In the Tall Grass by Stephen King and Joe Hill. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, and they wrote this short story together. It is becoming a Netflix movie very, very soon, and I honestly just devoured this in one sitting. It is so interesting, and the plot is just such a page turner. It makes you want to know what's going to happen next. But the plot of this story is 2 siblings, a brother and sister, are driving down an isolated road when they start passing these tall leaves of grass, I guess, blades of grass. And the sister decides that she wants to have the windows down rather than the air conditioning. And the brother decides that he wants to just talk rather than listen to the radio. And due to both of those things, they hear a young boy in the grass screaming for help. So they decide to get out and go help him. But there is more to this grass than they could have ever imagined. This short story, guys, it blew my mind. It was so amazing. I just loved every second of it, and it just fulfilled that horror part of me, that horror, not a horror. I'm not a horror, I promise. That horror need in me. I needed to read a horror short story, and this one just did it for me, and I was so excited and thankful that it was everything that I could have wanted and more. I'm so excited for the movie as well. I think that they're going to do a really good job, and after reading it, I definitely see how it could have become a Netflix movie, and I need to know what's going to happen next. I was talking to Jonathan about it, and I was like, do you want me to tell you what happened, because I really want to talk to you about it. He was like, no, I think it sounds kind of interesting. I might want to read it. So he's planning on reading it based on the synopsis. So if he can do it, you can do it. I promise you. I am just so blown away by this book. And obviously it gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me. I loved it. Next, we're going to talk about the movies that I watched in September. I only watched 3 movies, and the first one is Ready or Not. I was expecting to really love this movie, but it honestly fell flat to me. I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It went nowhere, and I really expected it to be a next level thriller, and it just wasn't that for me. I did love some of the comedic elements. I did love the main actress. She killed, no pun intended, killed this role. She was the star. She killed this movie. It was so incredible. But for those of you who don't know, Ready or Not is about a girl who gets married to this guy, and on their wedding night, she is asked to play a game with his family. She draws the hide and seek card, and so she has to go hide, and the rest of the family has to come find her, but little does she know that they have to kill her once they find her. And if she survives the night, then she can survive, but if she doesn't, obviously she's killed. So again, like I said, I just expected it to be a lot better, and it didn't do all of that for me, so I had to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was mediocre, but nothing too special. The next movie, however, was It Chapter 2, and this was incredible. I would have to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason I can't give it another star is just because it seemed unnecessarily long in some parts, and you definitely felt the length of the movie. I liked it probably about the same amount as the first movie. I liked to see the actors grown up and their experiences with Pennywise the Clown as adults, but I just thought that a lot of the things were contrived and just seemed like they could have been done better. I really liked how it flipped back and forth between when they were kids and when they were adults. Yes, the CGI was a little annoying as well on the kids, but they had to do what they had to do. It's no big deal. But I just really enjoyed the movie overall. I also enjoyed the representation. I heard a lot of people complaining about the representation and the way that it was handled, but I personally think that that is fitting and that was how it should have been handled. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, then just watch it and you'll know. I think that it was spot on, and I think that there's nothing more they could have done about that, and I really enjoyed that part of the movie. Yes, it was heart-wrenching. Yes, it tore my nerves up. Like, I was honestly in the theater, first 5 minutes, just like ready to start crying, but it needed to be done, and I commended them on doing it. It made me so uncomfortable and made everyone in the theater so uncomfortable, and again, it needed to be there, and I enjoyed it. Also, the characters. I just really love the characters from this book. I haven't read the book, but from this movie, I think that they are so well fleshed out, and they just do a really good job of conveying who they are and showing their growth throughout the movie. However, the only thing I didn't like was the relationship that ended up happening out of the movie, just because it seemed, again, very like insta-lovey to me. Like, it just happened too quickly. It didn't show any of the like build for it. You weren't like waiting for it to happen and just like, oh, come on, like you were in the first movie. The second movie, it just kind of got right into it. But those were my only complaints. 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed the movie. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. And last but not least, I watched The Craft, which is a 90s witch movie, and it was incredible. This was a rewatch for me and Jonathan. We decided to watch it toward the end of September in order to prepare for October, and it did not disappoint. I love a good witch movie. Jonathan loves a good witch movie, and the powers in this were incredible. One thing that kept bothering me the entire time was the lead actress's wig. I was like, girl, your wig is trash. Like, why did I not notice this before? Girl, it could have been a lot better. But anyway, I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was a very corny 90s teen screen queen horror movie, ? And I just love the story and the lore of the movie, and I can't complain. It's also nostalgic for me. I watched it when I was a kid and loved it, so I would have to give it a 4 out of 5 stars as well. Now on to the TV shows that I watched in September. The first one was The Last Airbender. Johnny and I finally finished book 3, which was fire. We started watching The Last Airbender at the beginning of 2019, and we watched books 1 and 2 very early on, and we tried to watch book 3, but our library kept having it checked out, so we couldn't get our hands on it. But finally we got our hands on it. We were able to finish book 3, and it was just incredible. I really love that series, and as a kid I had watched episodes here and there, and I had ideas about the characters and where I thought that their arc was going based on the little episodes I've seen. However, after watching the entire show, it's just so incredible, and it's honestly a masterpiece, and the characters are just so ingrained in me now. Like, they are a part of my heart, and I cannot handle it. Zuko especially, he is my favorite character. Just watching his growth from season 1 to season 3, like, he's just the best. I love him so much. Jonathan's favorite was Toph. He thinks she's such a badass bitch, and she is. So I also really liked Sokka, which when I was a kid, I really hated Sokka. He got on my nerves, but watching it again, I was like, wow, like, I really like Sokka. He is funny, and he is kind and loyal, and he's gonna do whatever he has to do, and I really, really loved him for that. I would have to give The Last Airbender 5 out of 5 stars. The entire series was just incredible. Like I said, a masterpiece. I'm so excited for the remake on Netflix. Like, it's gonna be incredible. But moving on to the next TV show I watched in September, and that was Trinkets. Johnny and I started watching this in July in our old apartment and just never finished it, so this month I decided to get on finishing it. The first 3 episodes were incredible, and I really enjoyed the characters and where the plot was going, but as the season progressed, I hated it. It went nowhere. The characters were making really dumb mistakes, including the last episode. I will not be watching the next season. I was thoroughly disappointed, and I would have to give this series a 1 out of 5 star, and that's only because I liked the first 3 episodes. That's the only reason I'm giving it 1 star. And the actresses really did a good job with what they had, but like I said, those first 3 episodes were the only things that were even worth mentioning, honestly. And last but certainly not least, we have Are You the One, Come All, which was season 8 of the reality show Are You the One. And I had fallen off the bandwagon with Are You the One for a while, but for those of you who know me, I am a trash can for reality TV, and this is no exception. This was the first sexually fluid cast for Are You the One, and I honestly loved it so much. It was so much more of a challenge that they had anyone to be their match, and they still ended up making it an incredible season. All of the cast members really held a piece of my heart. Yes, I was upset by a lot of people, aka Justin, aka Carrie, aka, oh my gosh, Kai. What the fuck? But there were some other ones that I really loved. Amber and Max and Bazit and Brandon and Remy toward the end when he was with Paige. I loved Paige so much. Those cast members really made the show for me, and honestly, like when I finished watching the show, I wanted to rewatch it because I just missed watching them. And I think I also missed seeing myself represented that way in television. And don't get me wrong, there are so many series and things going on now where there are people in the LGBTQ plus community on these shows, but just it's different when it's like a reality show based on love, and it's showing people kiss, and it's showing people have sex, and it's showing people fall in love with one another, and it being real life people. Like, it was just such a powerful experience, and I was very wary going into it. I didn't really like the first 2 episodes, but as I pushed on, I really enjoyed it, and I fell for all of these people, and they really just made my heart sing. I just love them so much, but hopefully they do another sexually fluid cast soon, because this one just an amazing reality TV show. Now moving on to the top 10 songs that came out in September of 2019. I am just going to list these just because this video is already getting long. First, we have In It by Drew Mack. This song is such a fucking bop. It is my favorite song of the month and probably one of my favorite songs of the year so far. I cannot stop listening to it, and if you haven't listened to it, please do yourself a favor and do it because it's incredible. The second song is Mother by Charlie Puth. This is my favorite of the new releases that Charlie has released. I honestly love this song so much, and I think it's so clever and so fun. And another bop, obviously, I really enjoyed it. Good News, and then in parentheses, the Yaya song by Muna. I loved Muna's album. All of the songs are incredible, but this song really stood out to me because it was different than what they normally do, and I really loved it. And it was kind of folky a little bit, like almost like this hippie folk, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Next, we have You and I by Reliably Bad, which is a Greensboro native band, so they're in my hometown. I've seen them live twice now, and they are incredible. So if you have not heard them, check them out. They are very inspired by jazz and big band sounds, and I honestly love them so much. But You and I is no different. It is very instrument heavy. Her voice is incredible as well on this song, and I have no complaints. You should definitely check it out. Next, we have October by Alessia Cara. This song is just very sweet and reminds me a lot of fall, and so I obviously had to play it. There were a lot of songs on her EP that I loved, but this song was the one that stood out to me the most. Next, we have Liar by Camila Cabello. I loved this song as well. This is my favorite out of the 2 that she recently released, both of which Jon Bellion, which is one of my favorite artists of all time, helped create. And so Liar, had to put it on here. I love the kind of Latinx sounds with the different instrumentation. I love it so much, and it's such a catchy song. I cannot get it out of my head. I love it so much. Next, we have Detention by Melanie Martinez. This has been a long time coming for Melanie. I have been a fan of hers since Toxic on The Voice when it aired back whenever. She is so talented as a musician. I know she's been in hot water a lot recently because of some scandals and stuff, but I personally can separate the art and the artist, and I think most people should. And I really enjoyed this album of hers. She is just a genius when it comes to creating concept albums, and I have been waiting a long time for this one, and Detention was probably my favorite song off the album, so obviously had to make my top 10. Next, we have Staring at the Sun by Post Malone. This is another album that I really, really enjoyed. Post Malone's album was incredible from start to finish. There were very few songs that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but this song had SZA on it, and again, it's just very fall to me, and I just love it so much. But Staring at the Sun, incredible. Next, we have Equally Lost by Tove Lo featuring Doja Cat. I love this song. I love Tove Lo. Every time she releases an album, it obviously makes my top 10 because she is just, her voice is incredible, her songs are bops, and collaborating with Doja Cat obviously had to make it even better. She can do no wrong in my eyes, and I loved this song. It's so fun and so catchy, and you should definitely listen to it. And lastly, we have Trial by Fire by Marky Basie. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I have loved Marky Basie since he was in 2 AM Club. Back when I was in middle school, I loved 2 AM Club. And I am so glad that he is making music on his own now. His voice is phenomenal. I love it. It is very R&B heavy. And Trial by Fire is no different. It's my favorite from his album that he just released. And if you have not heard it, you definitely should check it out. All of the songs in my top 10 of September will be linked below in my Spotify playlist, and you can visit my profile and follow me and follow my playlists if you want. Just go scrolling through all of them. I don't care. Find some that you like. Another one I have on repeat in the month of October is my Dancing and Gnashing of Teeth playlist, which is my Halloween inspired playlist, which I'm still working on curating. So far I've got like 150-ish songs, so yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. So that is it for my September wrap-up video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you are notified every time that I post a new video. My name is Brandon. I will see you all on Friday. Bye.